Okay, I think we're ready to go. Stephanie, you ready? Excellent. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our incoming ninth grade information night for the Medfield High School class of 2025. I'm Robert Parga, the principal at Medfield High School, and it's great to have you with us tonight um, for this virtual presentation. Um, of course, we'd rather do this in person. However, given all the restrictions that we're all living under, this virtual presentation will still provide you with all the information you'll need as you begin to look at your course selections. Also joining me tonight are our two assistant principals, Heather Mendoza and Jeff Sperling, as well as Stephanie Worthley, who's our guidance department chair. A number of our guidance counselors are here with us tonight as well. You'll get some general information about Medfield High School. As I mentioned earlier, we'll spend some time talking about our program of studies and our course selection process. You'll get the opportunity to hear from various department chairs as they describe their respective programs. Here at the high school, we have spent a lot of time over the past several years talking to students about the importance of balance, specifically balance in the schedules as that students are trying to maintain. We really don't look at the high school experience as being a 7:40 a.m. to 2:05 p.m. experience. Rather, we want students to look at their entire day, which includes school and any extracurricular activities you might be interested in, whether that's music, theater, sports, and other non-school related activities. We really believe these activities are important. And we mentioned this to make sure that throughout the selection process, you keep that in mind. It's important to strike that balance that we know leads to a stress-free high school experience, and certainly your guidance counselors will be able to help you with that as you move along. Now moving on to our schedule, we'll kind of jump right into it a little bit. We're excited to be rolling out a new master schedule for Medfield High School. This schedule has been well received by students, teachers, and parents, and we believe it better meets the needs of our students and allows for some choice and independence. Parents of older students will notice some slight changes. For one, our classes will be about 65 minutes long, which is different from our old schedule that included both 43-minute courses and 90-minute classes. The number of classes students take in a semester will stay the same. The number of credits students will need to graduate won't change, but there will be some experiences throughout the day that I think we'll all benefit from. So Stephanie, if you can advance it one more, thank you. So what you're seeing there is a master schedule. If you've not seen a school schedule, I know it can be overwhelming, but I want to kind of walk through a few items in this schedule that will sort of help explain what a school day at Medfield High School will look like in the fall. So let's just say C1 happens to be your child's biology class or student's biology class. So you can see that C1 meets on day one at 7:40 a.m. Then students, you'll have biology again on day three at the end of the day at 1 o'clock. And then you'll have biology again on day five in the morning and so on. If you looked at, say, E1, let's just say E1 is your English class. So E1 on day one will meet at 11:21. The next day on day two, your English class will be at 7:40 and so on. What this is an 8-day schedule, which is different from what we're running right now. So we're kind of getting away from the Monday through Friday schedule. If the first day of school is a Monday, that would be day one. Day five would be that Friday, and then day six would be the following Monday in a traditional 5-day week. Over the course of an 8-day cycle, all of what you see on this grid evens out. So our students will be able to, have that experience in each of their classes evenly over the course of 8 days. And then after day 8, whatever day of the week that happens to be, the next day will be day 1. You'll notice it's a rotating schedule. So students, you won't always have the same class to begin the day. You can see on day 1, it would be, as I just mentioned, a biology class. Day 2, you would start your day with English class. So the other piece that is new to us that we're really excited about are these flex periods, and you see those sprinkled throughout the week as well. Flex period is an exciting opportunity for us to really engage students in a way we've really never been able to do before during the school day. Currently, we have after school time with our teachers, and that's really the only time of the school day that teachers are free all at once. Um, on this schedule, teachers are going to be free during all those periods you see flex. So students would be able to set up an appointment to go perhaps see their math teacher on day one. Perhaps on day three flex, they may go see their English teacher. Perhaps on day four flex, they would go see their guidance counselor and so on. Right now, it's for students to see their guidance counselors. Uh, Sometimes we're taking time away from their class time, or it's done during a reading period, which is a really short time of our existing schedule. So this really gives us more time to spend with students throughout the day. Um, it also does provide us with opportunities for our teachers to get together to do some collaborative work, which we've never really been able to do before. So on those days that you see flex period sprinkled throughout the schedule, so on day one, our teachers will be meeting after school together, so they won't be available for students for extra help. However, on day two is a day you don't see a flex period, so there will be extra help after school. You can see that listed there on the bottom. I think our use of flex period will grow as we go along. Right now in our current schedule, students can take studies. We're taking them out of the course program of studies, and everyone can sort of use these flex periods as a study if they need to. So um, you'll hear a little bit more about flex period as we go along. That is really the main change to our schedule right now, or the most important aspect to our new schedule um, that we're excited about. And like I said, one of our struggles right now is engaging our students outside of the classroom for some of these supports. This will allow us to do it during the school day, which we're very happy about. So now if we can advance one, I'll kick it over to Heather Mendoza, one of our assistant principals, who will talk a little bit about the ninth grade schedule.
Hi, everyone. So my name's Heather Mendoza. I am one of the assistant principals at the high school, and I am so excited to see you or know that you're here tonight. I guess I can't really see you. I was saying to Mrs. Worthley earlier that tonight is one of my favorite nights of the year because I love to get psyched up for the next school year in the middle of winter. It's a fun thing to look forward to. So as we go along, as we get into this portion of the night, if you have any questions that you want to throw into the chat, feel free to do that. And then we'll be able to answer some questions at the end as well. So the ninth grade schedule will fit into the schedule that Mr. Parga just showed everybody. And I think the nice thing for the freshmen is that everybody's getting used to a new schedule at the same time. So I actually think it's the best time to be new in the building because everything's going to be new to everybody. So the schedule that you'd take, though, you'd have these classes within the 7 periods of the day. So there'd be some type of an English class, so an English 9, algebra or geometry, depending on what math you're taking this year, world history, biology, world language, and we offer 4 languages at the high school. So it's French, Spanish, Latin, and Mandarin. Wellness 9, and you need to take 1 semester of that. And then in addition, you get another semester elective plus another full year elective, or you can take 3 semester long electives. So a semester, just so you understand, is usually the first 90 days of the school year or the second 90 days of the school year. So it's half of our school year is considered a semester. So we just changed today to semester 2. So we're officially in the second half of our school year. So on the next slide, there's just a little bit of information about course placement. And you should be hearing more about your placement over the next few weeks, probably more specifically after February vacation. Your 8th grade teachers should be giving you more information about what level you'd be taking. But we have 3 levels at the freshman, for freshmen, and they are honors, the college 1 level and the college 2 level. And each varies a little bit, but the curriculum overall is the same. The books covered are typically the same. The MCAS is the same. So we make sure that we cover the same basic topics in all of them. It's just the depth and the level of independence varies from level to level. So we do work with the teachers over at Blake to make sure that your child or you yourself are placed appropriately. And we would encourage you to feel free to ask questions about recommendations. I think your child's teacher or the classroom teacher is the very best person to ask about the placement, because they actually see your child in the context of how he or she does every single day. If there's a question about the placement recommendation for a student, you can definitely reach out to the department chair, but any questions about that need to be made prior to the start of April vacation, just because we build the schedule from scratch every year. So we need to know how many students are in each level and each elective by that time, so that we can start dismantling this year's schedule and start up with the new one. And then just for next year, your student will be using an iPad again. So 9th and 10th graders, the students use iPads. And in 11th and 12th grade, we issue Chromebooks. Students often will bring in other devices, but the Chromebooks are issued to all 11th and 12th graders. So you're welcome to use the school-based ones. So now I am going to hand it over to Stephanie Worthley, who is going to talk a little bit more about the guidance program at the high school.
Hi, everyone. My name's Stephanie Worthley, as Heather just said, and I'm the K through 12 guidance department chair for the district. Though my office is at the high school, and I do work with a group of students at the high school. So welcome. We're really excited to hopefully get to know you all soon and see you all live and in person. The guidance office does operate a little bit differently than that at Blake Middle School. I understand that all of you students work with Miss Allen and have for all 3 years while you were at Blake. You will have the same guidance counselor for all 4 years of high school, but each guidance counselor at the high school breaks up their caseload by the alphabet. So guidance counselors work with students in all 4 grades at the high school. So if your last name is A through BO, you'll work with me while you're at the high school. BR through G, you'll work with Mrs. Deluzio. H through L, Mrs. Lodge. M through Q, Mrs. Patton, and R through Z, you'll work with Mr. Ornberg. We also have Mr. Becker, who's our school adjustment counselor. His role is actually 6 through 12. So you may have already gotten to know him a little bit at Blake. Mrs. Lodge is going to tell us now a little bit about some of the support services that we offer at the high school.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this evening. I am Mrs. Lodge. I'm looking forward to meeting you all in person. I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about how the guidance counselors work with students at the high school level. We really work in a multitude of capacities with you. From the academic perspective, we will start working with you right from the beginning to work on your scheduling each year. We'll help you navigate through the course selection process. And then as you guys are settling into courses in each year, making sure that the level seems like it's an appropriate fit for you. If it's not, and we need to drop or add a course or take a look at elective offerings for you, that's something that we'll help support you with in planning out your 4-year plan from year to year from an academic perspective. We can also help set you up with peer tutors if you need peer tutor support, and are certainly happy to connect with teachers with you and your families to help support you in navigating any conversations that come up from an academic perspective. On the future planning end of things, we really do work to help support students throughout their 4-year high school experience, and then begin to look forward to what life is going to look like for you after graduation 4 years down the road. So each year we will offer curriculum, and we will push into certain classes where we can deliver that curriculum to you. And all of it's really designed to help support you during your 4 years at Medfield High School, and then looking forward to what's going to come afterwards for you. And then certainly from a social emotional perspective, our goal is really to help make sure that we are helping you find sort of the best possible experience for you at the high school. And we are happy to meet with students individually, in person, with families, and students might drop in to see us or might have a schedule appointment. And we're here to really help support you from whatever you need from that social emotional perspective across 4 years as it ebbs and flows. And Mr. Becker, our adjustment counselor, is actually another great person who is here to help support all students from that social emotional perspective as well. And he's going to share a little bit about his role.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Lodge. I am Mr. Becker, Russ Becker, that you can see there, the school adjustment counselor. Here at Medfield, as has sort of already been touched upon, we really aim to prioritize the well-being and the mental health and social emotional wellness of our students at all times. I think this year especially, that's even more pertinent given all of the circumstantial things that are happening right now. And I think no matter how next year looks from an academic standpoint, we're kind of expecting some of our students to have some struggles. Oftentimes, that's where I come in as the school adjustment counselor. It's a very unfamiliar term to many. You might know it better as a school social worker. For those of you who I haven't met or for those who I haven't worked with yet, I typically work one-on-one with individual students who might be struggling with mental health. So some depression, we see anxiety, we see just overwhelming stress. Anything of that nature, typically speaking, I can work one-on-one with on a therapeutic level with students. Or honestly, if you're not sure as well and you kind of think, hey, that guy sounded interesting, maybe this is him, maybe it's something else, I'm available for all students throughout your 4 years here at Medfield High School. What I will say to you now, this is a ton of information to throw at your way. I expect you to forget every bit of what I am saying. Just try to remember my face. Please know that for both students and families, if you have questions, if you need help at any point in time, and if you're thinking that I'm the right guy, or if you're not quite sure, please don't hesitate to reach out at any point in time, because again, we really want to make sure that as you're pursuing everything that we have available to you, that you're also doing as well as you can from an emotional standpoint and from a well-being standpoint as well. So at this point, I'm going to kick it off to Mr. Ornberg, who is going to go over a little bit more of your freshman year schedule and specifics.
Thanks, Mr. Becker, and thank you to everyone who's joined us tonight. As I think about important topics in ninth grade, I think the biggest point we'd like to make is it is a transition year over to the high school. And some of the things that we try to do to greet kids at the front door of the high school is and we'll talk about this later, I think in June, we do try to meet with the kids one-on-one. We did this a couple of years ago. It was an awesome opportunity to sit with kids for a few minutes, kind of get to know their strengths and weaknesses and the things that they were involved with before they even set foot in the building. One of the things I think is important coming over to the high school is that students set up some goals. They'll hear about SMART goals that are measurable and timely, but I think getting off on the right foot in the first month of school is important to have structure and to have routine, given all the new people, all the new teachers, all the new expectations that they're going to have. It's a very different model than the middle school. Without the cluster model, they're going to have 7 different teachers with 7 different expectations, and that takes time to acclimate to. Navigating high school, I think we're all excited about this new schedule, and we're going to learn too. We're going to see the strengths and weaknesses, but as a guidance department, I think this is long overdue. It's going to give us that flex period is going to give us a chance to get to know all of our kids and work with our kids a little bit more without having to take them out of their specific classes. Some of the regular education support systems that are in place for kids include a writing center where kids can go and bring an essay to get looked at by veteran teachers who have seen tons of essays. In typical years, we've offered the math lab for students struggling with math. We keep a pretty comprehensive peer tutor list of students that are willing and able to help students in any of the classes that they're enrolled in. I think the biggest lesson that I've seen this year with our 9th graders is through this hybrid learning, we have seen kids model self-advocacy in ways that we've never seen before. I think it's forced a lot of kids to grow up a little bit quicker, but it's certainly made these kids think a little bit more independently. And it's been a challenge for some kids, but it's certainly been an emergent strength for others. And a retired math teacher, Ms. Burr, years ago had said that students have their entire lives to learn, but they only get to grow up once. And that quote has resonated with me through the years that I've seen hundreds of freshmen come over from the middle school, not yet polished to the expectations of the high school, but eager to learn and to dive in. And forging those new relationships and adapting to those expectations, it does take time. And I ask that, I think all of us ask that you allow that natural progression to take place. Obviously, we don't want to see kids struggling or drowning, but at the same time, a little adversity along the way sometimes goes a long way in terms of their long-term acclimation to Medfield High School. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Padden.
Hi, I'm actually going to jump in. I'm Elise DeLuzia, one of the guidance counselors, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how your child can access us when they're in the building. So we really look forward to getting to know um, each child individually, and it really is a privilege for us to be able to spend all 4 years of high school with them. And as Mr. Ornberg mentioned, we do make it a point to schedule individual appointments with all of the freshmen within their first couple months of school. So that's something that we always look forward to. But for students who want to connect with us, when they're in the building, our office is pretty centrally located right near the main lobby. So we all try to employ an open door policy. They're very welcome to come in if they need us. And really, I think of our services sort of in two realms. One is sort of reactively. So for example, a student is having a bad day and they need a space, they need someone to talk to, they're very welcome to come in and connect with us. And then on the proactive end of things, sometimes students want to plan ahead, or they're thinking about, for example, Mrs. Mendoza said we just started second semester, they're thinking about classes, they want to get some extra help, that sort of thing. So we're really there for students to help with all aspects of the high school experience. And the main message that I would want to share as far as counselor access is just that we really want to be that go-to person for your student, and especially grade 9, where they are forging new relationships, transitioning, learning to navigate the high school. We just really want students to know that we are there for them, and they can reach out to us either in person, email, or whatever works for them, and we'll be happy to support them. And I am going to pass it off to Mrs. Padden.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda Padden, one of the guidance counselors. I'm really looking forward to meeting you all in the future. I just want to highlight a couple of other ways that you can stay connected to the high school and have a good sense of what's going on each week and each month throughout the year. So one thing I want to highlight is the weekly news flash, which is sent out by Mary Jean Ingram. So this is exactly what it sounds like, a weekly news flash where different departments can post about things going on at the high school. So for example, you may have learned about this evening event through the news flash. I highly encourage you to take a look at that each week. It has some really great information. I turn to it often as well, just to get a sense of what's going on in the school. Another way that you can find information, especially that is related to guidance, is the guidance website, which is linked here in the PowerPoint presentation. So here we will post different grade level information. We'll post mental health resources, other supports and things like that. As we hear about different jobs or internships or summer programs, we'll post that on the guidance website as well. So that's just a really great place to take a look at in addition to the regular high school website. If any of you use Twitter, you can follow us here at Guidance02052. So we will post different reminders here as well as interesting articles and things like that that may come up. So that is how you can get your news at the high school. I'm going to turn it over to, I believe, Stephanie again to talk a little bit more about the program of studies.
Again, thanks, Amanda. I appreciate that. So again, I'm Stephanie Worthley. I am the one that keeps emailing everybody to welcome to the high school. So we have started working on next year already, which is hard to believe, but we put a pretty comprehensive program of studies together that I want to make sure that everybody makes note of a couple sections. So I am sharing my screen. So I'm going to try to link out of this PowerPoint and into the actual program of studies. So I've shared this link with all students and parents. I know there's a lot of information here, but I do hope that you have the opportunity at some point to sit down and really start to go through some of this information here. So you can see on the side here, there is everything about our high school related to curriculum and courses, graduation requirements, and then also various departmental information. You can click on any of these links here and it will bring you to a different section of the program of studies. And a few that I want to really point out. The one that says freshman courses. When you go to this tab, this shows you what a freshman course load looks like at Medfield High School, which is basically what Mrs. Mendoza went over for you. But down below, it starts to show you the elective opportunities that you have as a student to take during your freshman year. So you could see the full year elective offerings, and then you can also see the elective offerings as well. So many students will have the opportunity to take either 3 semester electives or a full year elective, and then 1 semester elective. So as you look through this list, you can maybe find an area of interest, that's something that you might be interested in that you might want to pursue further. And then you can link to the specific department site, so that way you can look up all the courses descriptions. So for example, if you were interested in advertising and marketing and you click on this business section, this will show you the objectives and the philosophy of the business department, but then all of the course descriptions, course numbers, what grades are eligible to take that course, and the semester credit that goes along with that. So with our program of studies, another area I want to make sure to mention is our AB schedule. So this is something unique at our school, where several of our courses are only offered every other year. And this is something that's important to talk with guidance counselors about, because we can help you map out kind of a 4-year plan, if you will, especially if you are interested in some of these courses. So for example, a course like AP European History, and again, that's not available for freshmen, but I'm just using it as an example, is only offered every other year. So more than likely, if you are a junior or senior and you want to take that course, you need to plan accordingly. So that way, if you do need to take it in your junior year and it is a B year, then you'll know that it won't be offered in your senior year, or vice versa. So it's just important to keep that in mind as you're picking your courses and planning for that. Even some of our semester electives like Shakespeare and drama, graphic design, things like that are not offered every year at Medfield High School. Again, if you have questions about that, be sure that you talk with your high school guidance counselor. And I do also want to point out our course change policy. As Heather mentioned a little bit ago, we build our master schedule off student course selections. We start from scratch every year with our master schedule. So we really take a lot of investment in creating a master schedule of courses that students are interested in. So when students select courses, which you're going to do over the next couple of weeks, we make it a priority that those courses are the ones that we move forward with. So course changes often are very challenging at the high school. It's just important to note that, so that way if you sign up for, we'll say, graphic design now, and then come September, you say, oh, I don't really want to take that. If you sign up for the course, that you'll need to stay in that course for the first 5 school days of the semester, unless there's a blatant error in your schedule. But just so that way, kind of everything shakes out, students are where they need to be. If changes do need to happen, we're kind of doing them thoughtfully and in a manner where it allows us to make sure there's room for you in the class, that there's seats available, and so forth. So that's why we ask that you be really thoughtful now with the courses that you're selecting, so that way you're in courses that you're happy with and that are enjoyable. It's a little bit different for full year course changes, especially if it's a level issue. And I don't want to get into this too much, but I just want you to be aware that there is some important information in the program of studies about course changes, because that way we can plan accordingly. And then you, the students, can also really be thoughtful about the course selections that you're making as well. I'm going to switch back to my PowerPoint here. So how do we even make course selections? So we are going to get all of our 8th grade students Aspen login accounts, student accounts, so that way all course requests can be made through the Aspen portal. I believe that parents have access to Aspen now, but students don't. So on March 4th, 8th graders are all going to receive a specific email for them with a specific username and password for Aspen. And we will send you, I promise I will send you tons of information about this. But once you log into your Aspen portal, you're going to see on a side tab, it will say requests. You will be able to see then specifically all of your recommendations that your teachers have made for you for your high school course placement. So once you are on Aspen, on the 4th, on the 5th, Aspen will officially be live and open for you to actually go in and make your course selections. So all the course selections will be done on Aspen. So it's really important to students to talk to your teachers about your placement, talk to your parents about what you're thinking in regard to your courses, your electives, and we'll have plenty of time between March 5th and the 12th for you to do your course selections. And I know in some years there's been a myth out there, like I have to get my course selections done first so I can get the classes that I sign up for. It's not like this. This is not a college. You know, you can do your course selections on the 5th. You can do them on the 12th. It doesn't matter. We really are thoughtful about making our master schedule to try to accommodate as many requests as we can. But the window of time to do your course selections is the 5th through the 12th. And if you do have questions specifically about Aspen and how to make your course selections, certainly ask your teachers at Blake, but also reach out to us at the high school. Contact your high school guidance counselor, ask us questions. We are happy to help you and have those conversations. As Mrs. Mendoza said, if you do go on Aspen and you see your recommendations and you feel that you need to make an appeal to a department chair about a course placement, those conversations need to happen by April vacation. Again, because we make the master schedule kind of from scratch every year, we need to have those conversations done by April vacation. So May and June, we can spend the time working on the master schedule for the following year. So I want to turn it over to Mr. Sperling to talk about all the wonderful things happening at Medfield High School in regards to our clubs and our culture.
Great, thank you. And I appreciate everybody taking the time tonight to join us. I know there's a lot of information being thrown at you, and you'll have access to all of this. So please don't feel like you have to memorize this whole presentation. Mrs. Worthley already sent out some information with some links and all this stuff contained. So hopefully you can kind of digest it, but be able to check back if you do have questions. So one of the pieces that I get to work closely with, Mrs. Mendoza and I, the two assistant principals, so we do a lot together, but we also have sort of our own little areas that we focus on. And I do a lot of work with student groups, student organizations, our clubs, our activities, things like that. So in any given year, we usually have 30, 35 active clubs and student organizations. Most of our clubs and our traditional clubs are open to all students. So we really do stress that they need to be inclusive. There's a lot of fluidity with that. So if you happen to play a winter sport and you need to take some time away from your club, that's absolutely no problem. It's not an all or nothing. There's really always an open door for those clubs. We've obviously had to get pretty creative with some of that stuff this year. So most of our clubs are meeting virtually and after our school day ends. I do think some of that stuff might be able to continue once we get back to some traditional, a traditional school year where maybe we could still sort of bridge that gap a little bit. But I know most of our students miss having the opportunity to just meet with their clubs and get down to whatever activities they're interested in. So in addition to the clubs, sort of the traditional clubs, we also have our student council and student government. So those are similar to what they are at Blake, I believe, where elected positions, people can kind of put themselves out as a candidate for different positions. Those are elected each year, and the people will stay in that office for that school year. So again, it's based on the class of 2025. You would have a president, vice president, treasurer, rep to the school committee, secretary, and then the student council positions are school-wide. So that's a really good opportunity to work with students from multiple grades. They plan a lot of our events, a lot of our fundraisers on a yearly basis. So really impactful groups to the culture of the school. We do have links up on some of the information that Mrs. Worthley sent out. We have a Google site that's dedicated to our clubs and organizations. There's links on those with some explanations of what the clubs are. Our students this year also put together a virtual club day. So historically, we have a club day that is sort of like a college fair, if you will, where each club can set up in the gym. Students go over from their lunch. They're able to meet with the club officers and kind of, sign up if they're interested. So we lost that face-to-face opportunity this year, but the student leaders of the clubs really felt they wanted to get that information out there. So if you get a chance, definitely check out the video. The kids did a great job on it. So, and I know they were excited to share that information. So what's next as we sort of conclude this piece of the transition? We're not done. So there's going to be more opportunities for transitional events as we go through the school year. We have a transition day each spring. Historically, it's been right at the end of the school year, usually during the 8th grade cookout. So we've got some extra energy with us in the morning before they get over for the cookout and the yearbooks and all that good stuff. So it's a little bit too early to tell right now what we're going to be able to do for that event, whether it's going to be kind of how we've done it traditionally or if we'll have to get a little bit creative. But we will absolutely have that event in one way or another as we get towards the end of the school year. There's also going to be individual meetings where each 8th grader will be able to meet with their guidance counselor one-on-one. We just really felt strongly that being able to establish that relationship this year will just help that transition as everybody comes across the driveway into the new building for the fall. We also have an orientation each fall. So similar to like it was for 6th grade, we have the 9th graders by themselves for the first couple of hours on the first day of school. So we did that sort of virtually this year as well, but we're hoping if everything goes as planned that we'll get back to that traditional face-to-face. And that's an important event. I think a lot of the information at that point, the then 9th graders, now 8th graders are used to it. They sort of know the drill, but it's really nice to have them in the building by themselves with schedule in hand once it's real. And then we have the upperclassmen come in later that day and we go through a traditional school day. So it's worked really well. We've been able to tweak that event over the course of the past couple of years to make sure we're giving them the right information and keeping it reasonable. We don't want to overwhelm more than we need to on the first day, but feel like it's important to give them that dedicated time on that first day of school. So this kind of starts the process, but like I said, it certainly doesn't end it. There's going to be plenty more opportunities for us all to get to know each other a little bit before we start up again in the fall. So is that the last slide, Stephanie? That's it, right? Okay. So that's kind of where we're at with this presentation. I know we're all available and people have been putting some questions in the Q&A. So if there are other questions to pop in there, go right ahead. I think we've got some time left. I'll defer to Mr. Paga on sort of our end point, but thank you again for joining us tonight.
Jeff, there was a question in there about the site where they can find the videos for the club. Is that on the Google site?
It is, yeah. It's in what Mrs. Worthley had sent out. There's a website that she built that's got all this transitional stuff. It's also got the link to our student handbook, which we also have in Google site format. So again, most of what's in our handbook applies even in this crazy year, but it's a really helpful thing to take a look at. Certainly don't expect you to study it and memorize it page for page, but it does have the answers to a lot of questions that you might have as you kind of get your head wrapped around what high school is going to look like. So yeah, those links are built right into what Mrs. Worthley sent out earlier this evening.
Great, thank you. And I think that does it for the questions. Heather, I think I see you typing an answer there. I don't want to turn off the chat before you finished your answer, so I'll give you a second, or if you just want to answer the question.
This question is about computer science. So just the quick answer is that it's a one semester elective. So it would happen, because the questions happened a couple times now. So electives could happen in the fall. Some are repeated in the spring. Some only happen in the spring. And some electives are year long. Most of our year long electives are the band, orchestra, and chorus for freshmen. But there's a mix, and it depends on how students sign up as to when they're offered. So we try and balance out when we'll get the most number of kids into a class.
And Heather, do you want to take the class? Do we have a class? I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses on. Are there any classes if we want to learn about law?
Yep, so there is a practical law class that is taught by the social studies department. That is not available right now for underclassmen. It's only for upperclassmen. So there's different electives that, and again, this question came up a few times. So just so everybody's had access to this information, our electives are not taught like Blake, where it's all 8th graders, all 9th graders, all 10th graders. We do a lot more mixing at the high school. So we might have classes that are just for 9th and 10th graders. The law class happens to be just for 11th and 12th graders. We have some that are grades 10 through 12. It really depends on the class and what background knowledge you have to be successful in the class.
Thank you. Average class size, we typically don't have classes that are more than 23, 24. That would be sort of one of our larger classes. It all depends on how the schedule shakes out. Some classes have 17, 18, 19 students. Some are, 21, 22 or so. Some of our wellness classes obviously are a little bit larger. But what you'll find in typical English, social studies, math, science classes are in the low 20s. And somehow my Q&A got turned off. I thought I saw another question in there. Heather or Jeff, do you see one or no?
I think they're being answered as.
Okay.
you
Yeah,
know,
there's a few coming in. We'll chipping away at them here.
Yeah.
Robert, can I just share my screen again for everybody and show them the site that I've shared out?
Sure.
Okay, that might be helpful. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen here. And I just sent an email out to everyone right before our presentation started tonight. So I think this website will provide you with a lot more information on top of the things we've already talked about tonight. But in here, there's some important links for you to take a look at. The Medfield, it just goes to medfield.net. This is the link to our program of studies. This link goes to another site which will talk more about the high school schedule, the new schedule that we talked about. And this also includes our student handbook. And then as Mr. Sperling was talking about the MHS clubs and organizations, this site is really dedicated to just everything about clubs and organizations at the high school. So I think I saw somebody in the chat asked what clubs there were at the high school. If you click on this website here, it will give you all sorts of different clubs that our students are involved with and the club advisor as well. So again, if you're interested in different after school activities, definitely check out this site. Also on, I can move this on this, sorry about that. My screen is not cooperating. Okay. Also on this website that I have sent out, we will post the webinar from tonight's presentation here. But all of the department chairs have included a screencast here for you about different department specific information. So you can see the English department, math, performing arts, science, special education, social studies, visual arts, wellness, and world language. So I encourage you all to take a little bit of time and watch these screencasts. In a typical year when we have an evening like this, we would have all of the department chairs live and doing these presentations for you in person. But again, this year, we're trying to use the technology we can to best utilize the technology to give you all the information that you need. So I encourage you to take a look at this website, browse through some of these important links here, the schedule, the handbook, clubs and organizations, and also watch the department screencast. And then that way you can make some decisions about course selections and, think about some of the things that you look forward to at the high school.
Thank you, Stephanie. And as we wrap up, I believe Amanda mentioned something about communication, newsflash and whatnot. We also use a Facebook site as well as Twitter at Medfield HS. So if you just want to become familiar with sort of what's going on with the high school, you might want to jump into those. Again, it's nothing that we don't email home, but just a way to kind of follow along to see what activities are going on. Typically, I would invite our students to come out to some of the sporting events, come out to our spring plays again. That is really difficult these days, and we don't have guests come into any of our theater productions or concerts, and certainly very, very limited fans at sporting events, mostly parents. So like you, we're hoping that we kind of get past this and we're able to re-engage with our community and share all the wonderful activities that our students are doing. But for now, it's still very difficult for us to have people in the building. Our athletic department does a great job of broadcasting the game. So I was at school today, we were playing Holliston in basketball. All of our basketball games, boys and girls, are on the YouTube channel. So you can reach Eric Scott, our athletic director, if you want to find out where those events are. We're hoping to get that set up on the field as well, so that we can continue to broadcast some of our events that are happening outside. So we're just trying to get as much information out to our students and families that can't come to the game. So just kind of keep a eye out for some of those if you're interested in watching some of our sporting events.
Just
Go
one
ahead, Heather.
Yeah. So typically this event, if you have older children, typically has taken place after February vacation. We've kept the time selection, the course selection time period the exact same, but we would really encourage you to spend time from now until the beginning of March, really looking through we're giving you a lot of information, and we know that you can only move through things so quickly. So just as you move through the different pieces of information that Mrs. Worthley shared with you tonight, just make sure that you feel free to ask questions as you continue along. We know this is a very different model than what many of you have gone through school with. So we just want to make sure that you get your questions asked and you make really great decisions about what you're going to do as you enter high school for the first time. It's an exciting time, and we want, to support that for you.
Thank you, Heather. And we're around, certainly if you have any questions at all, email us, give us a holler. We're going to be around this summer as well. So as you begin to sort of get ready, I'm mostly speaking to the students, as you begin to get ready for this transition, don't hesitate at all to reach out to us. When we are able to, and if we're able to, you want to a walk around the building early on before school starts, let us know as well. I believe that some of that will be happening this summer, fingers crossed. But again, consider us a resource. Your 8th grade guidance counselor can certainly point you in the right directions, but we're always happy to help as well. So so that'll do it for tonight. Thank you again. Be on the lookout for emails and other communication that will be going out over the next several months. Most importantly, enjoy the rest of your 8th grade year. Blake is an awesome school. And I know that you'll enjoy, sort of these final months of being a middle schooler. And we're really looking forward to seeing you at Medfield High School in the fall. Take care. Let us know if you need anything. Thanks again for hanging out with us tonight. And we look forward to seeing you down the road. Bye-bye.